So thanks everyone. Pleased to introduce you to the lovely Darren Cavanagh from Creativegan, who's going to talk to us about storytelling in video for vegan businesses. Hand over to Darren.
Thanks, Sam. Great to see everybody here. Really exciting that you've came along and given me your time to listen. And storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas in the world today. And marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but it's about the stories that you tell. And I want to do this a little bit different today because I'm feeling a bit crazy. I've had a crazy day. And so the main purpose for me today, for all of you, is that you take away just some really strong ideas that you can think about applying to your vegan business or just applying to your marketing per se. And I also just want it to be fun. I want it to be entertaining. I want you to remember what I'm going to be talking about, hopefully, because I've been at this for a long time. But before that, as I said, my day's been a bit crazy. I actually got stung by a mosquito on my cheek here. You can't quite see it, but it's literally feels like the side of the face is like this. So if I'm twitching in this talk, then it's the mosquito bite. And I live in Glastonbury. I own a house, but I'm currently living in the driveway in a caravan with my fiance because we're planning to buy the house that I do co-own with my ex-wife. Everyone's all amenable, we're all friends, etc. But 2 weeks from Friday, we're getting married and we're planning a vegan wedding at the minute. So I've got all of that craziness going on. It's all going well. I booked the harpist yesterday. It's in a traditional church. We've got all the vegan food's been planned. We've got these Oatly vegan chocolate bars that we're going to give everyone. Shouldn't have told anyone that, but I did. But the other thing is my fiance has been trying to sell a house now for 4 months. So I had loads of plans to do loads of things today, but we've just been toing and froing from sorting out the solicitor's paperwork again because they lost it in the post. So my entire day has been turned upside down. I was going to go to the vegan business tribe networking. I can see some familiar faces here, so that I couldn't attend that at 4 o'clock. And so I more or less rushed to sit down to start planning what I was going to present. And I was sitting there thinking of how I wanted to do this talk with you all. And again, they're the main things I wanted to cover. And that kind of ties into, if you're going to tell a story, then have a big story or an interesting story or none at all. So I haven't told you anything about me yet. I haven't told you anything about the work that I do or the business that I do. But hopefully what I just did was just tell you a bit about me and how my day went and the things that had happened. And just by doing that, straight away, hopefully you get some identity with me. You realize I'm not trying to sell anything or I'm not trying to, talk about what I've done. It just gives you a way in to identify who I am as a person. And then that's tip number one. Pens and paper, you can, watch this on, but jot things down I'm going to mention, and I'll flag this up there. Any video you're going to do nowadays, many years ago, you could do 2 types of video, one that had valuable content or one that was interesting. And those just don't work on their own now. You've got to do both. You've got to have a really interesting conceptual video and it's got to be packed with value. You've got to have those 2 things now. Otherwise, people disengage because there's just so much content out there. So one of the things I just did right away was talk about me, talk about how my day went. You can use that device in any video, particularly live videos. If you're going to be speaking to people, you want to have a period of time where you're just talking about yourself in an interesting way. Look, I know a lot of you might not be getting married and you might not have been stung by a mosquito, but there will be something that will have happened in your day that is of interest to you, that's unique to you, and it's particularly, and just think about what that is. And it will be something that might have made you a bit stressful or made you happy, or just there will be something in there. And again, that's unique to you as a person. That's the kind of thing that can't be emulated by somebody else. So always think, make notes about those things. Something might happen and you make, oh, that's a really interesting, I'm going to mention that in a future live video, or that's an idea. So that's the other thing, to jot down those ideas as they come up. And there's just many of them. And it's not about what you ate for breakfast sometimes, or I did this. Certainly if you've got animal companions in your life, people love to hear stories about, you know, who they are, what their names are, where you got them from, is it a rescue animal? Particularly in the vegan community, that really opens people up to engaging with your content right away. And I know there's just this itch and temptation, if you're going to put content out there, that you want to get to the telling people what you do and how you can help them. And fair enough, that's a key part of it, but it almost doesn't need to be that thing that you're going to get to, because it's almost like when you get to that point, you've got to have engaged with people so much that they're still going to go with you on that story, if that makes any sense. And I need to go to a quote here from Spielberg. He said this a few years back, but this is really applicable to online stories. So people have forgotten how to tell a story. Stories don't have a middle or an end anymore. They usually have a beginning and they never stop beginning. Don't you find that sometimes with stories, that they begin and they just go on and on and on, and there's no real start, middle, and an end. So what I'm going to talk about quickly today is whatever video you're producing, that it's really important to create that structure, be it a minute long, be it 2 minutes long, be it 3 minutes long. I'm specifically going to focus on talking about how I think any business, like a movie, because my background is in movies and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, you should really have a promo to your business that does all of the things for you, and it's made at a high production level. And by that I mean it needs to be between a minute and 3 minutes long. It needs to have professionally shot footage or stock footage. It needs to be widescreen and also in a portrait format for mobile. But it needs to basically, when you come on these network meetings and you talk a bit about what your business does, it needs to do that in a way that if someone was to see, a complete stranger was to come across your video, that they would be able to see in a minute, like what your business is, you know, who it serves, what it's doing, but also that the production level is at that point where they just straight away think you're a legitimate business. They go, this is a proper business. This business has put some efforts into this video and they're communicating with me what they do. And that is what I've done now for 30 years. I went to film school from 90 to 93. I studied film and video. But before that, I was even making movies when I was 7 years old. I went to see Jaws on my birthday with my parents, blew my head off, scared my mum to death. Steven Spielberg, my hero. And in that moment, I just said, I want to make movies. And what happened in that moment as a 7-year-old kid, it just impacted me, what I was seeing on the screen. And so you can still do that. You don't have to sit people in a cinema, but always think about any video that you're creating. How are you going to impact people with that video? So back to my tip about creating a high profile video. And don't be nervous that this is something that's going to cost loads of money. It's just that you need something like this. Ideally, it's going to be front and center on your website. It's going to be whole screen. That's the first thing that people are going to come across to watch. Why video? It's 90 to 92% now engagement online is people watching videos. 2 years ago, I think it was at 82, and it's almost like it's gone up to 92 now. So if you're not using video in your business, just think of that statistic, that almost 90% of engagement online is people watching video. And as you all know, that could be reels on Instagram, it could be shorts on YouTube, it could be longer format. It's across the gamut. So let's say you have that 1 minute to 2 minute video for your business that's running on your website. That can also be running on your Instagram. It could be running on a YouTube channel. And that will do the work for you across all formats at any point, 24 hours a day. So I left film school, went to London. I worked at MTV for 6 months, and then I ended up getting my first full-time job in a creative agency called Momentum Productions. I started there as just an editorial assistant. That job turned into 20 years of my life, and I became the creative director of that agency, and I ended up becoming co-owner of that industry. And what we did is we marketed movies. So we made movie trailers, TV commercials, promos, behind the scene featurettes. And we basically I did that for 20 years on 2,500 films. And Disney was one of our very early clients. Cool Runnings was a Disney film. I don't know if any of you have seen that, about the black bobsleigh runners, pretty cool movie. But The Lion King was one of our first campaigns that we worked on. And I worked over those 20 years, like on pretty much all of the key Disney films. And so that, just in a nutshell, again, what I'm doing now is just telling you a bit about what I've done. But like for you, when you're speaking to people as well, I'm just giving you some authority and trust in terms of my experience. But what we did in that time, what I did predominantly was make movie trailers. And you all know the movie trailer. It's that piece of content for a film that you go to see on the cinema, you see online. And what people don't really know is it's still the #1 piece of content to market a film. And so that applies to businesses. That kind of your main video will still, used correctly, be the #1 piece of content that will market your business. And the way it does that is it's like how movie trailers do it. Movie trailers are continually sold online, people engage them. It's the first piece of content that people normally see they see on a film. So that's why production companies, film companies, they spend millions of dollars on the trailer, because they know that if they don't capture the audience with that trailer, that effectively people are not going to turn up, they're not going to buy the ticket, and people need to be at that opening weekend to make it a success. So I've used all of that expertise over those 20 years and I apply it to vegan businesses now, because when I quit that job 8 years ago, I directed and produced my first feature-length documentary. Thing was, I'd worked on so many people's movies. I just thought it's about time I made my own. So I eventually did. I got off my arse. I did an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. I worked on that for 6 months and I raised £54,000 that went into that movie. And so I was able to produce and direct my first feature film that came out in 2017. But at that point in my life, my father had been sick for about 5 or 6 years. He passed away literally the day after my film was released. At that point in my life as well, I was going through a divorce, and I'd also had a meltdown in terms of the stress of working on the film. So all of these things happened at once. I'd spent all this time working on this film, but life just came along and just went boom, 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 and just knocked me right over. So the reason I'm telling you that story again, it's to emphasize another part of my story of where I went in the journey. So I basically took 2 years out then. And then when I came back and I had the energy to kind of focus on how I wanted to put my creative expertise into the world, that's when I came up with the idea of the Very Creative Vegan. And that is basically me. This is me, this is my logo, this is my branding. And, because I have a background in film marketing, I understand the dynamics of having good branding that people remember, having a copy line that people know, and again, utilizing video. So I've been a vegan now for almost 9 years. I've been running the Very Creative Vegan business since 2018. And so that, since I've been doing it, has been going up and down, because in terms of, I decided to have the idea and I went to VegFest. Literally, I went, right, I'm just going to do marketing for vegan businesses. I looked online, there wasn't a lot of people doing it, didn't do that much research. So I just went to a VegFest, had my cards printed, and literally went around practically every stall. I might have bumped into some of you, and just told people, this is who I am. I do marketing for vegan businesses. And so many people at that point, nobody was doing it. So the response was overwhelming. It's like, oh, great, I really need this. This is fantastic. And so I found very quickly that I on my own couldn't do a lot of the work. But also I realized very quickly that a lot of new vegan businesses were in that kind of bubble where they were doing everything. And so they wanted help with marketing, but they couldn't effectively advise me on how best to do it. And also they really didn't have the funds to invest in it a way that would really promote their business as much as possible. And not that I'm saying it's an expensive activity. It can be, you can do it on a really good budget, but it was just that dynamic that I suddenly found of working with big clients, going to a lot of smaller clients, that they were also stuck, because when I would work with them, their time was so limited that the marketing that we did had a limitation as well. So this was all a learning curve for me when I started to work with vegan businesses. And it was, again, like any new business, it was really interesting to see what was working, what wasn't working. So long story short, I've decided now that my main focus is just going to be on video and digital content, because I used to do ads for Facebook, Google ads, other things. And this is where I'm going to really make today's talk stand out, because I've basically ditched a lot of that. And this is another tip that I'm going to give you today, that if you're going to promote. If you're going to promote on one platform, my advice now is just use one platform. And like Sam said, so if you're going to promote, the reason to do that is you can really hone in and get incredibly consistent and get the best results if you just focus on YouTube. If you decide just to do LinkedIn, if you just decide to do Instagram, if you just decide to do Facebook, trying to do them all, and I've done this and learned the hard way, you can't do it. It's exhausting. It stretches your energy out like this. So what happens is you grow like in a tiny way all the time, and you're not really utilizing your time and efficiency. But say you just focus on one and you just stay with that one platform and be consistent over time, that will reap so many more rewards for you. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just focusing on YouTube, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later, or you can ask me more about that. So not that I won't still keep my profiles on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, but for me, my creative focus moving forward is going to be on YouTube. And the main reason for that is because it's video, and because it's still a relatively fresh place to create video that people are still going to engage with, that isn't going to be isn't getting completely consumed by ads. And it also, there are windows in there for businesses of my size and of your size to still make a really great impression and to really help your business move along. So I'm going to be a bit shorter now. So the other thing was, one of the top tips, so I was going to talk about why video, 92%, focus on one platform. And then the other thing is, it's about niching down. So whatever your vegan business is, I mean, you've probably heard this phrase before, but there's something about finding that niche, and there's a niche within a niche within a niche. And that, I'm finding, is the key thing. If you market too broadly, then you don't effectively get the kind of clients or customers that you need. And it's almost like finding that particular person that is absolutely key to what you're offering, and really narrow them down. You know, like what is it, male or female? How old are they? What job do they do? What platforms are they on? You know, what TV shows do they watch? And you will find, even when you get so niche down, there'll still be literally hundreds of thousands of people in that niche. And I see this time and time and time again. People just market so broadly that they're not targeting that specific person or group of people. And the advantage when you do that is you can really find those people in specific groups, and you can get into that conversation in their head. You can get on the same page of them. You can understand what their problems are. And then as soon as you're in that position, as I'm sure you all know, I'm preaching to the converted here, as soon as you can solve problems for your clients and customers, then you are going to gain traction and you are going to gain engagement. So back to the 3-minute or 2-minute video. One of the things that you can download for free from me is like the essential tips on how to create a video. In that, I'm going to just read something out now that we can talk a bit about just in this call. But if you download it, there's a lot more information about how to write your script, how to get the right kits, or the things. I know some of you on here sound like you're at that level in any event, but for those of you who aren't, I put a lot of time and effort into this just to make sure that it would tick all of those key video boxes. And without going into all of that here, what I'm going to do on the call is just read out the idea. So I've talked about having that video for your business, which I think is absolutely key. It's for you to have that 1 to 2 minute video to promote your vegan business. But then the idea is you've got to really drill in before you get to the script stage. So what is the purpose of the video? What's the reason that you're doing it? Again, who is your audience for this? I've talked about that in your niche. You know, what is the actual topic of the video? What is the story that you're going to tell in that video? And what is your all-important call to action at the end? The other thing to tag onto that is, what do you want your viewers to do after watching the video? So I spent 20 years doing this, making movie trailers. It's great. You have this trailer, you show people, you build up the tension, you create the suspense. And then at the end, as you all know, it says next year, or coming to cinemas this Christmas, or what happens is it gets narrowed down, and you'll see this in TV ads. It'll say in cinemas on Friday, or in cinemas tomorrow, or at cinemas now. That's your call to action. Effectively, you've got to work out what it is that at the end of your video that you want your clients and your customers to know about your service, and then what you want them to take action. So that action could be a link that takes them to one of your squeeze pages or a landing page, where ideally something on that page represents what you've already said in the video. And again, you want to give them something to download, something of value, a great lead magnets, or something, or it could just be straight to that piece of service or that thing that you talked about in your video. It could be a marketing call with you, whatever that is, you want it to relate to what you've had in the video. So always remember, that's one of the rookie mistakes I see in videos. People don't have a strong enough call to action on the end, where you're asking the people that are viewing it to do something. And you can get really creative with that. You can get fun. I mean, watch what other people do. It's usually when you watch a lot of YouTube videos and people begin that video and they say, keep watching this video because at the end, I'm going to tell you how to do this, or you can download this, or you can get this free thing. And the reason they do that is YouTube is optimized for people not just clicking on a video, but for how long they watch that video for. And so that's why people do that, because they want to grab your attention right away, but they want you to stay and watch the whole video until you get to the end. That's how they optimize the viewing, and that's how they optimize their times on the channel. So that's quite a lot from me. In terms of, I'm sure there's quite a bunch of questions out there. There's a few other things I want to talk about, but I'm aware that there's only so much that the brain can take in. I think I've been talking for about 10 or 15 minutes now. So if you have any questions about my background of what I used to do or something specific, I know that Janet mentioned you're doing something about crowdfunding. The one last thing I will mention is I'm also, as well as getting married 2 weeks Friday, trying to sell my fiance's house, move into a new house. I'm currently producing and co-directing a new documentary called Human Kindness, The Animal Dilemma. And I know that some of you have been aware of this. We did a crowdfunding campaign in May. For the whole of May, you would have seen many videos posted from me and the directors over that period of time. And for those of you who did see them, thank you. For those of you who did engage, and I know that Sam and a lot of people on the Vegan Business Networking did, you know, amazingly, we got to over 56,000 euros. And that campaign ended, but it's still in demand, which means we went well past our target on the crowdfunding target. But for Indiegogo now, it's still in demand. So that means the campaign's still open. So if people want to go into the campaign, they can still pre-order the film. There's still some perks on there. And one of the perks that I created for people was to create a movie-style video promo. And that is what I've talked about here. It's creating a 2 to 3 minute video promo for your business from existing footage, from stock footage or footage that you would have shot yourself. And what I will do with you is I will work with you on that edit. I will create the script with you. I will edit it in Final Cut Pro X. I will put music, graphics, and that video that I've been talking about, I would produce at a really professional level for you. So there's only 10 of them available, and we sold 2. And there's still 8 on there. So we're in demand. It's only going to be for a limited time. So, and also I'm charging for that 50% of what I would normally charge to produce a promo at that level. So anyone wants to ask about that, they can do that separately, but that's still on there. But I'm just highlighting it now because the in-demand part of that campaign, we're not going to keep it active for that much longer. So if anyone was interested in having one of those promos produced, then that's still there. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope that is of interest, and I'm really excited to take any questions.
That's great, Darren. Thank you. And do share with us the link in the chat. And also, if you share it with us as well, then we can put it on YouTube along with our video recording, and also share it across our Vegan Business Network groups as well. So thank you very much. Let's open it up for questions. You can either just unmute yourself and shout out, or if you want to be really polite, you can put your hand up. Janet.
Hey, yeah, I guess I'm looking, you said you had like a little list of tips. Is that on the Creativegan webpage, or where can I find that?
Oh, the PDF. Yeah, I'll put a link in here for all of you to download. I mean, literally at this point, my website developer on my website is putting a new pop-up with that to download because I made a few adjustments. I was aware that this was happening. So that might be live if you go to my website, or if not, it's going to be on there tomorrow. But I'll put, so just check out my website tomorrow or Friday and there'll be a pop-up. And literally, if you just put in your email, then you can download the free PDF.
Thanks. And do you think I can, you know, I'm thinking in the age of TikTok and everything that I'll be able to use cinematic on my iPhone with a professional microphone to get pretty good video.
Look, iPhone
Is
now,
that
you can shoot a
possible?
movie on it. It's crazy. It's 4K. You know, my whole career went from analog. So when I was working on The Lion King, I was like doing edits on SVHS and pneumatic tape, and there was no such thing as non-linear editing. And so, you know, in that entire period of my career, I saw how analog went from digital, and then how digital has gone to the point it is now. And I've used every camera conceivable myself and with crews. And so now today, I don't have any of that kit. If I want to do a professional film shoot, I will hire crews that I know. But mostly I just use my iPhone because it's got, I mean, the quality on there is just incredible. But again, rookie tip is you have to have good sound. So you really get those like time mics. The problem is the eyes, I mean, like the Blair Witch Project, you watch that movie, even though it's like really shaky and blurry, but the sound is amazing. And it never, as soon as the sound is bad, you disconnect because our ears aren't selective like our eyes. So again, that's the other thing with video. This, I mean, I see a lot of promos where people have spent a lot of time and money, and generally they've got that really inspiring musical track, and it's just too high. It's like it's blurring out it's just too high, and it kind of it covers the voiceover or when they're speaking. So again, that's something else to be really conscious of. It's great to have a music track in there, but people really tune into the voice. And so if you're going to have a voiceover or you're speaking in your video, that has to be crystal clear. And look, microphones now, radio mics, they're like, you know, you can buy them for 20, up to 50, up to £300 on Amazon. But again, also with video, you don't have to have audio captions. Every video as well now, you need to have captions. And I don't know if you know Instagram, you can just generate them. When you create a video, you press the little face, that will generate the captions for you. And it's pretty hot now. It does it so quick. And again, people mostly look at videos mute. So you always want to have captions appearing in your video to engage with people when they're watching it.
And do you think I can use like just a simple app, or would I be better off with Adobe Premiere? Because I use Photoshop, so I'm you know, I checked out Premiere, and obviously it looks like you've got lots and lots and lots of features that you won't have on just a simple video app for editing. But do you have any thoughts on that? Do I have to go all the way to Premiere?
No, Adobe Premiere only use if you are an absolute professional editor, literally, because Adobe will charge you a monthly subscription, which is very expensive. The editors that I work with in my creative agency would use Premiere, but I use Final Cut Pro X. Like iMovie is as good. You can use iMovie, which is free if you've got a Mac. And there is a whole, I can also find, there is another screen grab of a lot of free editing tools that you can use, but only I would stay well clear of Adobe Premiere unless you are literally a professional editor, because you don't need it. If you're at that level, but if you're not, you don't need it.
Okay, I'll just use CapCuts or something.
Well, Final Cut Pro X, I mean, on Mac it costs like $200, and it's as good as Adobe
I don't
Premiere.
have Mac.
Okay, so are you are you on Mac or PC?
My laptop is a PC. Obviously my phone is a Mac, is a iPhone, but
there are apps on your iPhone that you can edit in apps that you can use. And again, just Google that. You can get really good free ones. Some of the ones you pay for, they're pretty reasonable now. It's like $10 a month, and you can take your video, you can add captions, you can edit. But for us, I'm mostly Mac based, but again, for PC, I mean, Google is our friend. Just Google like best editing tools for PC. And again, generally when I do that, if I go in, I'll look at the reviews for people. And then again, YouTube, this is why I go to YouTube and people will be in there and they will show you how to use those things very quickly. But again, Janet, if you're comfortable doing that, great. But if you have someone that can do it for you, I'd recommend you give them the creative ideas and the script and let them do the editing. Not that you can't do it, but again, it's really good to have you focus on the creative side and then let someone do that editing part for you. But by all means, if you can do it yourself, awesome.
Yeah, you know, it's about the budget at this point because we're trying to raise money, so our budget is really limited. And it is a very specific video for a crowdfunding page. So
Did you see our human kindness page, Janet? Did you go to that?
no, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, so on there you'll see that there's a teaser trailer that basically the film is 50% shot. So that, again, it's not the finished film, but I was still, because of my expertise, able to create a trailer that makes it look like a real movie, which it is. But then we also shot a main video in Switzerland with the two directors, with two camera people. And again, I put all of that together and intercut it. Just when you see the level of that and what it, but that in terms of what it cost, in terms of shooting it, again, it wasn't that expensive because they knew people that had worked with them on the film. They shot it in a day. You know, I edited it. I put it together in maybe 5 days. But again, all try to find which crowdfunding platform you're going to go on. Do you know yet? So you're going to go with Kickstarter, Indiegogo? WeFunder. That's a reasonably new one, isn't it?
I think so. And we've already identified some of the videos that we're emulating in the food. Like, you know, there are a couple of them that we think are really cool. So I've kind of modeled our cadence and everything on that. I'm still working on the script though.
Okay. Yeah, we could have a quick longer conversation about crowdfunding, but I'll give you really, really top tips. When you set your target, set it really below what you need, because there's a mental trigger that goes on with people here. And I've struggled with some clients when I've done this because they say, well, people are going to see that figure and they think they won't think it's of value. That's not that's not the strategy. The strategy is this: if you need 20,000, you've got to go out the gate asking for 3,000 or 5,000, because literally by the time you launch, by day 2 or 3, you want to be at your 100% target. And you want to have already had backers that that are going to put in that money. So what happens then is people come to your page and they go, wow, God, they're already at 100%. So the mental trigger is that people will invest if they see you've reached your target more than if they go to your page and you're trying to get 20 and they see you're at 3% or 5%. People will see, they're not going to get there, sorry. They subconsciously do that and they move away. Whereas if they go to your page and they see that you're at target, they contribute. That's one of the key mistakes. The number one mistake people make with crowdfunding is they set their target too high. So all you know what you want money-wise, but you've got to bite the bullet and say, we can't put that in there. We've got to go almost like 50 or 60% below it, knowing that your strategy is that you're going to get there and go beyond. But again, that comes from consistency. From once you launch and get to that 100%, you need like a plan in place to, like, every week or every other day to keep promoting it to get it to that figure. And then you've got, it's like success story after success story. Then you're like, great, we've reached 120%. We've reached 200% of our target. And then when people see that, they go, God, this is great. I'll give. That's what happens. And it has a snowball effect. If you go the other way, and I've seen this happen, unfortunately, once you've set it and you set it too high and you're struggling to get there, it's really hard to get to that target. There you go. That's someone on a motorbike, wasn't me?
Sorry, that was me. That was definitely a motorbike. It wasn't too many lentils or anything like that. So on Human
Kindness, we set it at 15,000 and we got there in 3.5 days, but our target was 50 and we got to 56. So we smashed it, but that was the strategy. And I'll tell you, when I said this to Anya and Matty, my directors, I had to bend their arm to convince them that was how we needed to go with the strategy. Because I'd done this already. I'd learned the hard way on my film. On the film that I crowdfunded, I set it too high. And boy, I had to extend my campaign by 2 months. I got there eventually, but bloody hell, it was hard work. Never
I
again.
mean, I will have to find out what the parameters are on the refunding page. Like, I think I'm not taking care of the financial side of it, where you qualify the raise that you're looking for and all of that stuff. But I'll definitely pass that info along, that if we can do it in incremental, smaller amounts, that would be an advantage.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I mean, I don't know, are they like, do you have, if you don't reach your target, you still get the money, or do you have to reach it to get all of the money? Is that?
I
You don't-
don't know. I don't know that side of it. I've just been working on the pitch, the highlights, the video, the script,
Yeah. I mean,
and
not,
how we're
I
gonna
would,
reach out to our community to let
Yeah.
them know that we're on WeFunder.
so another tip for all of you is that, if you have a vision or a target that you're going for, reverse engineer. So you go, so I'll use the crowdfunding as an example. Let's say you're going to launch in 3 months. It might be sooner, I don't know. But you basically work back from that point. And so to create, even when you've created that main video, you still have to strategically figure out all the other videos that you're going to be launching in that period of time. I mean, we were going to launch in March on human kindness, and I said it's way too soon. We just were not ready. We needed those extra 2 months, and even then, it was all guns blazing, because when I worked on my film, 6 months I worked on the actual crowdfunding campaign before I launched it, and mostly that was just to have enough content to keep it engaging throughout the whole campaign.
Wow, fabulous. Some great tips there on the crowdfunding as well. Any other questions around what we've... Lisa?
Hi, Darren.
I used to, my Momentum Productions was in Hackney.
Okay.
Was in 1995 in my co-worker's basements. That's where we started our business, editing The Lion King.
Right.
So I know when you mentioned where you were, I thought I had a memory
Yeah.
of Hackney. I know it well.
Okay. Darren, I got 2 questions. I mean,
Only 2? Oh, go on then.
just an advice from you. I want to know what kind of lights that we need to use for taking footage of a food, and do I need to use any kind of filters, or what kind of other equipments I need? And the other question is how often I need to post on any platform.
So the first question is technical. Our biggest light source in the world is the sun. I mean, I'm not just going, I'll go into the food specific. So again, anyone shooting videos of themselves, stand by a window. That light from outside will always make you look healthier and glow it wherever it is. But also, you can get those ring lights now really quite cheaply to put the nice pins in your eyes, which is very helpful. But again, your biggest light source is the sun. Be careful that if you're next to daylight, by its color is blue. So the eye doesn't see that, but you may remember, and tungsten light is orange. So if you're shooting video and you have daylight coming in and you've got tungsten lights on, it makes the color balance look a bit weird because the two clash. So sometimes you get that effect. You probably noticed in the old video cameras, you used to get that, something you go from outside and in, and you'd look at the footage and people would look they'd look blue, and inside they'd look too orange. That's because the color balance on the camera couldn't adjust so quickly. Amazingly, nowadays the iPhones do adjust quite, but just be aware of that sunlight makes you look quite cool, whereas tungsten light will make you look warmer. So to answer your question to food, it is tricky to photograph food under artificial light conditions because they are hot. Any lighting that you use they generate heat. Depends which ones you're going to use. Film lighting food is tricky. You do need someone that's done it and does it well. And so there are people out there who photograph food really well. But what you want to do is, you want to get, I don't know if is it cooked food or cold food or both?
It's both.
So there's a way that you need to present the dish that isn't necessarily how it, that you've got to preserve the dish on how it looks. And if it's steaming, that's an issue. And so you want to have a kind of neutral environment where the food's going to be, or you want it in an environment where people, I mean, want to be eating the food. But generally, you want the light to be as natural as possible. Because remember, when somebody looks at food, they want it needs to look edible. So you don't want the light too sharp, and you don't want it too dull. So, and you've got to kind of create that vibrancy. So I would do some Googling online about how to light food, because it is a tricky one because of just the dynamics of food. It's not like a person's face where you have makeup and you have color, and particularly if it's hot or cold. But you can get some really good light boxes. I don't know if you've invested in a light box.
Yes.
You know, light boxes are really, but you can get one specific for food where the lighting setup isn't going to make the food melt, or it's not going to be too hot, or it's going to light food in a certain way.
Right.
Well, how many times to post? So I don't know if any of you saw Own Your Future recently. There was a Tony Robbins challenge, which was...
I was on that.
You were on that, Sam. It was pretty amazing, wasn't it?
It was awesome. Were you on it as well?
Oh, yeah. So one of my big takeaways was the 3 C's that Dean and Tony talked about. So coaching, community, consistency. So coaching is a bit like this. It's a bit like network. This is a bit of both. So coaching is there needs to be someone in your life that you're either is coaching you or is mentoring you, or you're getting this consistent advice from somebody that's moving you along. Community is something like this. It's like a vegan business tribe. It's like a Facebook group. And then consistency is the big one. So you need to look at what other people doing that are in your niche that are doing it really well and see how many times they post. But I would, again, platform dependent. If you've got a YouTube channel, once a week. Instagram, God, it's hard with Instagram. They say twice a day now. I'd say every other day. Facebook, I'm not a fan of Facebook anymore. I'm not even going to promote it, honestly. It's one of those platforms that I don't use. Twitter. LinkedIn is awesome. Once a day on LinkedIn is great, particularly in the morning, because LinkedIn, I don't know if you know how many groups you're in. LinkedIn doesn't penalize you for sharing into groups. And so LinkedIn is still really good if you've got something strong to share every day. Clearly, LinkedIn, you've got the weekend off, which is awesome. No one goes on LinkedIn at the weekend. So there you go. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Fabulous. Thanks, Darren. I think we've probably got enough time just for one more question or for any final tips and advice. Shabari.
Yes, I was going to say, Darren, thank you for the presentation. I know about your work with Mate and Anya on their human kindness project, and I just want to say, well done for for going beyond your target. I mean, that was really useful information about the when you set up a crowdfunder, not to make it so high, and that's kind of like the psychology with people. If they think we're never going to get, or they're never going to reach that target, then it makes them less likely to put the money in. What I was going to ask actually, about any kind of your promotional video, which you mentioned about 2-3 minutes, you want to share your story, you want to encapsulate everything that you're about within 2-3 minutes. Are there what kind of content would should be in that 2-3 minute video that would show everyone what you're all about, and and be compelling?
So I'll ask you a question in response to that. Someone tomorrow is going to give you a free TV commercial or a movie trailer for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be free. You won't have to spend a penny. So think about how you would want that video. It's not going to be you talking live. It's not going to be rough and ready. I mean, it's like the budget was no object.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's like, think of like TV commercials. So that's why they're at that level, you see, in terms of production value. It's like, even Tony Robbins, when you see like he has a the unleash the power within. Those big events, they always have a promo. You've seen them, and like he's doing his thing, and the crowds and the graphics and the music's great. And even your business can have something at that level, production wise. And so if you're someone who goes and does a lot of just live, and you're like really scrappy and rough and ready online, that's great. But when they go to your website and they see your video, they just go, whoa, wait a minute, this is like really legit. You know, they see that you put the time and effort into that. And honestly, again, mentally, people think that they're seeing a legitimate business, that they're seeing somebody that's put this time and effort in. And the great thing is when you've got a video like that, you can, the main body of it can stay the same, but you can change the end card, the call to action. So imagine you've got it in an edit suite and you have an event like Christmas coming up or Easter or something else, change the messaging on the end, but the bulk of that script. But again, that's what I say. You want to think about what would be a key thing that you want to talk about, and you all do it on these networking meetings. When you're given that 30 seconds and you're like on the spot and you thought about it and you say that thing. Generally, I say to people, "There's your script. There's your if that's your video, just take what you've just said and apply images to it, apply music to it. It could be captions, and there's your video." And again, I wouldn't overthink it more than that. And the thing I wanted to say about the crowdfunding as well, for people that are raising money, and this is to you, Janet, and just people that generally are trying to, not just even from a crowdfunding. And I advised someone in Uganda recently, this lovely young man who's trying to raise money for an animal sanctuary for dogs, and they need $20,000. And he was asking for my advice. And I said, look, what you want to ask people is, you just want to ask people to give $3. And so you don't say we need $20,000, and you say we just need, and then I said, divide 20,000 by $3. So I don't know, quick. I'm not doing that right now, but let's say that turns into, say, 500 people. So that then becomes your message. Your message is, we only need $3 from you, and we want 500 of you to do this. And you don't even mention the 20K. And as soon as that's your messaging, people, and you go, it's a cup of coffee, it's this, it's that, we just need $3 from you, but we need 500 of you to do this. That, again, anyone who sees that, they go, it's nothing, $3, I'm in. And you see, it's just, again, as soon as you create this target, it becomes something that's insurmountable. So again, it's another tip to create a low engagement or a low donation from people. But again, and then you just, that message just, and that almost becomes like your call to action, and it's part of your campaign. You can have fun with that. It's like, we only need $3 from you. Oh my God, 200 of you have already given us what you'd have had a cup of coffee today, and we're already like 3/4 of the way there. But you see what I'm saying? Even though you need that 20K, but your messaging and how you present it isn't about that. It's a smaller amount. But also what they're doing is making such a big difference. That $3 that they give is going to home these animals in Uganda. It's going to be a new sanctuary. So then people go, wow, God, for $3, that's what it's going to do. I mean, I got something today from the wildlife, and it was one of these emails that, if I can just share this with you quickly, because this is something that just grabbed my attention, and I gave to it like straight away. And I just thought the way they marketed it was really clever. If I can find it, just 1 second. It came up with the message that it just said, it basically said, I can't find it, but I'm going to remember. It just said, look, things aren't going well. And I clicked on it, and it said, we are still this amount of people away from raising $50,000, and we're not there yet. And so, and the way it worded it, it said they were almost there, but they just needed this amount of people to get to it. And then if we did, we would do all of this for the animals. And it was just, again, it was another way of playing on that mental trigger, rather than saying we need this amount from you. It was like, we needed this amount of people to contribute. I think it was another 200 people, so we can have £50,000 to help support these animals. And I just thought, I'm in. Boom. It was like I did it in 5 minutes. I hope that was useful, Shabari. Thanks for your compliments on human kindness as well, and you interviewing Anya and Mate. That was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for sharing your wisdom today as well.
Anytime.
That's great. Thank you again so much, Darren, for sharing all of those tips and tricks, and even giving us the added advantage of some tips and tricks on crowdfunding as well. So over and above your call of duty today. So we really appreciate that. Just to remind everyone, do save the chat. It's the 3 dots at the bottom. Save the chat and you can contact people outside of this. Darren, thanks again. And if you can share all of those links and bits and pieces with me as well, or Jane, and we'll get them all added to the social medias as well. And we've had a fabulous conversation today. So please do continue this conversation over in the LinkedIn and Facebook groups. And I'm sure Darren will reply and help anybody as needed as well. So thanks again, everyone. And
thanks everybody. Really, thank you for contributing. I really want to compliment you all for moving the vegan movement forward. And again, just don't forget, like, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller, and the even more powerful person these days are the ones that are vegan. So thank you.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rest of the day.
Very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.